Hello. This is about pitch allocations and allocating specific clubs or specific teams to specific pitches. I'm starting on here the allocating pitches tab, which is where we control this from, but I'll also be referring to this single team optimization tab. And let me just update that to make sure that it's got the latest numbers in, right? So here you can see that we've got, now I've pre-entered HKU1 and HKU5 because I know that these two teams here are spread across 3 different pitches. And that's fine if Sandy Bay is not the festival host. But if Sandy Bay is the festival host, that can, and therefore has to provide pitch marshals, that can be a problem because, for example, you ask a parent in HKU1 to look after pitch 6, and they look at that and think, well, does that mean that they're going to miss their son or daughter playing on pitch 5 at 8:55? And of course that can cause problems just for a team manager or the festival organizers in getting volunteers to be pitch marshals. Now, back to the allocating pitches tab. What we have here is 2 cells. Now this says club, but you can also put in team, and this is preferred pitch. And so, for example, and this is what we used to do, but we changed our approach to what I'm going to show you later because of the pitch marshalling type issues. So this is effectively saying that for Sandy Bay, pitch 1 is really the home pitch. And I'm going to run this number 1 here, which takes these 2 cells and says that whenever a team in this club is playing, then it will be shifted to pitch 1. Now I'm going to do that now. And then if we go back to here and we update it, you can see, now what you can see here is that there are 4 instances in which Sandy Bay 1 or Sandy Bay 5 are not playing on pitch 1. But if you look, so if we just go across from here, you can see that's because there's already a Sandy Bay team playing there, Sandy Bay 8. And similarly here, there's a clash, and similarly here there's a clash, and similarly here there's also a clash. So it can't switch Sandy Bay 1 into Sandy Bay 8 because that would, it can't tell the difference between those two. But if you look down here, effectively whenever there is a Sandy Bay team playing, it's on pitch 1. And now that's what we used to do to make that sort of a home pitch, but it became very, very difficult to get volunteers to be pitch marshals. So now let's just do HKU1 here on pitch 1, and we run that, and you'll see that if we go back here and we update it, HKU1 is now playing here. Now that also has the result that it's shoved HKU5 off onto pitch 3 and HKU5 over here onto pitch 6, and similarly all of the other clashes that we had, like HKU8 has now gone over here. Okay, so that's the simple, that's what happens when you put a club or a team in here and you give it a dedicated pitch, and then you run this one here. So that's the system that we've had for quite a few years. The evolution of that is to basically specify a home club, and then to prepare a list for the home club, which fills in down here. So as you can see here, there are 8 teams in this age group, 1 through to 8, and there's nothing more sophisticated in this than just going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are only 6 pitches, so then it restarts 1, 2 again. And you are very welcome to change those to whatever you think would be a better combination. So that's entirely up. You can just type in a different one. I'm going to, I don't know, maybe I'll change this to pitch 5. Okay. And then when we click this one, number 2, change pitch allocations using list approach, it runs through, it starts with number 1, puts that in here. So Sandy Bay 1 and pitch 1, because that's what we've got here. And then it runs this number 1 macro. And then it puts number 2 and then on pitch 2. Just literally running through this list, or from 1 through to 8. Now this also has the effect that if there's a conflict, then whatever's down at the bottom here will be will end up overruling what's further up, because it just does it from top through to bottom. So whatever's bottom is the last change that it will have made. And I'm going to just do that, and you'll see the end result here. And if you just watch the screen, you'll see that these, this club and preferred pitch are updating as it runs through the list. So 1, and now it's running through 2, and so on. Now, go back to here. Now, again, this I'm only using the single team optimization thing just for ease of seeing what the result is. The actual changes are being made here in the scheduling worksheet, and this is just drawing that off to allow us to see easily what's where. So you can see here, HKU1 is still on pitch 1. If I just run through, and 5 is on pitch 5, and you can see here that now HKU5 would have been on pitch 5, but then HKU7 was further down the list, so it has been swapped in with that there. And if we go to here, that's because we've got HKU7 on pitch 5. Now I'm just going to show you a few other team, Sandy Bay teams. You can see there 2 and 3, 4. We've already got 5, so let's just do 6, 7, and 8. Now that makes the job of getting pitch marshals easier for a festival host. For a non-festival host, it's really up to the scheduler to decide whether you're going to bother doing this or not. There's really not much benefit to it, and you can see that you've still got issues here. Like there is nobody on pitch 3 for Sandy Bay, but that's pretty much inevitable if you split the day into an early and a late. Into early and late batches, which we pretty much have done with this. And it's also inevitable to the extent that we've only got 8 Sandy Bay teams and we've got 6 pitches, so therefore using this approach we're only going to be able to have 2 teams on the same pitch in just 2 instances, which is of course what you can see. When you go back here, we've only got duplicates on pitch 2 and pitch 5. So it's up to the scheduler to make use of that. You'd probably want to make sure that, so actually if we look back at some of the conflicts here, like Sandy Bay 8 and Sandy Bay 2, that's quite a helpful way of doing things. We've got an early and a late batch there. If we look at our other conflict of 5 and 5, HKU5 and HKU7, so this doesn't really, this is probably not a sensible way of doing things, because they're basically overlapping. So it would make sense to find a way of, basically having one of these teams go at, well, maybe one of them go on pitch 1, so that we've got Sandy Bay 1 taking the early shift here, and then we'd have, say, Sandy Bay 7 taking the late shift. So why don't we just do that? That was Sandy Bay 7 on pitch 1, and let's just run through this again, and we'll see how see whether that comes up with a useful setting, a useful structure. Okay, go back here and update. So HKU 1 there. So that would be a sensible way of handling this. Okay.